for another episode live at Black Hat with the CyberVault. I'm super excited for this one. We are joined by Sage. Sage is the founder and CEO of Jericho Security, doing some very interesting things in the space. So we are going to cover that today, unpack what these guys are up to, and I suppose we'll just get straight into it. Sage, thank you for kind of joining me here. Why don't you kickstart, tell us a bit about yourself, a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Sage Wohns, CEO and co-founder of Jericho Security, and our mission is to protect the world from the new threats created by generative AI. My background is in AI. I founded a company about 10 years ago that was pioneering this space, specifically for machines reading and writing at scale. And that started with extractive, but generally grew into generative. But as soon as GPT-3 dropped, one of our largest customers in the DoD, they tried to classify it as a weapon. Because now you can socially engineer at a scale that's absolutely unprecedented with precision that's never been before humanly possible. You can attack and learn from your attacks until you break through. That's never been really possible before. But now with generative systems, the price of an attack has gone down. No one's worried about burning a $10 million 0 day anymore when you can just for pennies create a Marco Rubio recording and distribute that, at an unprecedented level. And the old tools are not prepared for the scale, sophistication, or personalization that we're seeing now. So it seemed absolutely like a moral imperative for someone to protect the world from these attacks. So we founded the company with my co-founder Tim Hwang, the youngest Asian American CEO to go public on the New York Stock Exchange, about 2.5 years ago. After making sure that this was the giant opportunity I thought it would be, and it turns out it has been. We've seen, on the scary side of it, attack proliferation of over 4,000%. Last 6 months of 2024, voice phishing went up over 400%. Just 2 days ago, and that's the talk of Black Hat here, the North Korean attacks that have gone up specifically targeting hiring. All of that is powered by this core technology that's really changed the face of cybersecurity now. It's presented immense challenges, but immense opportunities.
Yeah, and I think kind of one thing that has been a common denominator in security since it kind of really became cybersecurity rather than just IT is the fact that humans have always been the weakest link in the chain.
Yes.
And ultimately, I suppose education is a huge piece, of course, that comes into play because a lot of people don't necessarily know where vulnerabilities are, what could I be doing wrong, and it's kind of gone past the days now where you get an SMS message or an email and you kind of like, spy me an Amazon voucher. People are like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I understand that. But this is so much more advanced, especially as we talk about things like Gen AI. I mean, talk to us a little bit more about kind of what you guys are specifically up to and some of the products that you have out there that I suppose are really defining this category, because that's arguably kind of what you're doing here. You're defining a new category within the space.
Exactly, yeah. The old approach of using templates, the old approach of doing like persona-based attacks, it's not relevant anymore. I'm not getting attacks just based off of my seat as CEO. I'm getting attacks based off of, what bank account I use, what breach information is there about me, what PII has leaked in the latest breaches. And that's individualized attacks, again, to not just a phishing level, but a spear phishing level. And again, the tools were not ready for that. And the education certainly wasn't ready because you have to watch these off-the-shelf videos that are necessarily generic because they didn't have the ability to create dynamic, targeted education. So for us, the attack is the beginning point, but the education is really where we can add a layer of data as well as enrichment to be able to say, here's your breaches, here's where you're vulnerable, and this is how to protect yourself from these. And we actually have a unique approach where our red team is actually training a blue team. The blue team analyzes the attack information to give you context about what to look for in an attack. Because ultimately, that's really what matters. A lot of emails are generated now. A lot of voice calls are generated now. Just spotting something that generative does not equal an attack. What really equals an attack is an attack. So that's what we're teaching people to watch for.
Yeah, and I think you're 100% right, because even if you look at, I think you mentioned kind of about like the job side of things and what's been happening obviously in the recent news, but one thing that is pretty prevalent is, say, people are using things like ChatGPT all the time to help now create emails, LinkedIn posts, their resumes, or whatever it may be. So you can no longer filter out that language and just assume that it's malicious or whatever it could be, and that's a really hard way to kind of separate. How can you tell whether something's actually got malicious intent or not and stuff like that? It's probably one of the most challenging things to teach people, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, a lot of the approaches now are trying to, the old approach was to spot grammar or spelling mistakes, and then people were like, you got to spot a deep fake, and it's just like, that doesn't matter. Most of these things that we're going to see are somehow enhanced by AI now.
Yeah.
So it really is about spotting that attack path and kill chain and stopping it there. And the great thing is that there's a lot of patterns around that, and it's based off of data that the attackers are using to be able to target the attacks. So with that full chain of understanding, the full data-led decision making, we can say, this is where you're vulnerable, this is how to stop an attack, and we can recommend not only methodologies to be able to make sure that you spot those attacks, but a way to be able to protect you and your coworkers against those attacks too.
Yeah. And ultimately, I think that's one of the important things as well, isn't it? Is being able to recognise those things. And in terms of kind of what you guys bring to the table, are there any particular, as you say, the challenge is the market landscape evolves so rapidly, right? It's really hard to keep up with. Are there any particular things that you see that are like, okay, these are like some of the key weaknesses that we're noticing that are just consistently appearing across different businesses and different kind of people that we're working with? Is there anything in particular that stand out where everybody falls for that one kind of thing?
I'll go for the macro. So at the macro level, this market is still 85 to 90% unvended.
Yeah.
Like it's absolutely stunning how underserved this market is globally.
Yeah.
There's been over $1 billion worth of breaches across Singapore, Korea, and Japan in the last several months. And there's immense opportunity in those areas. So just filling that, it's 85 to 90% of the market. So addressing those underserved people, that's why we built a freemium model, so people can actually sign up and go, whether you're SMB or whether you're we have a crypto fund in Taiwan who's using us. We have a major enterprise deployment in Japan that's using us. They are able to sign up and use us immediately.
Yeah.
And that's widening the market to a tremendous level. This used to be a $7 billion market. It has grown tremendously because of the attack surface area as well as the proliferation of attacks there.
Yeah.
So just building that out. And also, there are nation-state level attacks going on.
Yeah.
We're really proud to be the only dual-use technology in this field right now. And that sort of alignment with national security is absolutely imperative for us to be able to win this war.
Yeah, you actually just touched base on something there, and I think this would be really valuable for people to hear about, is to talk about freemium a little bit more, because I think this is something that you guys bring that literally nobody else does.
Yeah, which was shocking to me too, because this affects absolutely everyone. Like it's not just corporations being attacked. There's direct to consumer now cyber insurance that is growing tremendously with one of our cyber insurance partners. So we're seeing a lot of individuals, a lot of SMBs that have not been able to use solutions in the past that now have cyber insurance and have a requirement to use that solution. So again, the market is growing tremendously.
Yeah.
And the ability to just sign up and go, one click to set up a full year of campaigns in less than 20 minutes and be able to have access to cutting edge education is something that was previously gated. And now opening that up is accelerating our growth tremendously.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges in security often is the accessibility piece. It's there's sometimes the overcomplication, and people are just they hear some of the buzzwords and they think, no, way too much for me to understand here, I don't want to go through with it. But then the other part is it can be really complicated to get hold of, and you have to, suddenly you have to have 50 or 60 different vendors doing this and that and the other. So when you have something that's super accessible, it's easy to use and it's easy to understand, ultimately people are going to be so much more receptive to it.
It especially resonates with me because the number one question I get at any of these speaking engagements is, an anecdote inevitably about their grandparents or their parents. They're seeing, in the old days you see that mail stack up at home, but now it's emails, now it's SMS messages, now it's voice calls. How do you protect an aging population against these things, especially with major populations like Japan and Korea with aging populations? So that really opens up that opportunity to protect a very vulnerable population from these new attacks that are oftentimes nation-state sponsored now.
Yeah, because sometimes it's so easy to forget that when people say, it's the human layer that's often the most vulnerable, people are still always picturing big corporations and big enterprises, and they're thinking about it from the business perspective. It's so easy to forget, unless you're working in security, that actually it's like your loved ones and it's your family members. They're sometimes the most vulnerable people out there, especially when you come to the things like deep fakes and stuff now, and we've seen examples of it where, you can pick out some things because you're looking for it, but if you don't know to look for that, are you going to kind of pick it out and stuff? So I mean, and obviously we'll put some of the links in so people can kind of see what we're talking about here, because I think you're really adding value to a demographic that could absolutely do with it. I mean, what's on the horizon for you guys? Because we've already touched base on the fact that this market, it's just so quickly.
Yes.
You know, it's like, I don't think anybody actually understands how quickly this market evolves, especially now that people can build products as a team of one and do it very, very quickly. I mean, what's on the horizon? Have you got any particular things that you're kind of really focusing on that's really going to help, I suppose, target some of these new tech?
Well, I'll rewind to a year ago where we were just email, and that, you know, that's sort of the incumbency thing. But now we have messaging, just cross-channel messaging, voice, video, as well as education that can be tailored, created in less than an hour to be able to target individuals and provide that context about why they're being attacked in this way, why they're vulnerable in these areas, and how to prevent those attacks too. And then now we have our triage unit that's trained off of that attack data. We have the largest data set of generated attacks in the world, and it's annotated by humans. It's the most valuable data set I've ever seen. And so we've been able to not only use that for reinforcement learning for higher and higher efficacy attacks, we can actually use that to train novel defenses. And that opens up an even larger opportunity to stop these attacks in their path. So that's really where we're headed next. There's also additional opportunities that we're seeing, especially with the data set that we've created, to be able to do attack origination and automated takedowns. So there's a tremendous opportunity just starting with this data set of generated attacks and understanding what a high efficacy attack looks like in this new age.
Exciting things ahead then.
Yeah,
that's for sure. And I think ultimately that's the key thing. You know, there's already, it's hard to, you can't stay stagnant in this space, but ultimately it's that value add piece that you guys are absolutely bringing to the table. So thank you so much for joining me and talking about what you guys are up to today. And obviously to everyone listening, like I said, I will we'll make sure to tag some of these links so you can have a bit more of a look into the unbelievable things that the team at Jericho are doing. But this is it for today. So again, thank you for joining, and continue to follow for more conversations that are shaping cyber.